left, right.
Hi there. Thank you for joining this episode of SipTalk. Today I'm sharing some thoughts that have been through my mind over the last couple of weeks. Trying to be nice. Talk about the new reindeer. Macy's invented a new reindeer this year. We also talk about some taboo topics we try to avoid on the podcast. We get into some racial elements and some transgender elements. And it's interesting how that conversation plays out. Also, I want to wish you guys a happy holidays. Thank you guys for joining the podcast. As always, whether you're watching or you're listening, any interaction you have with the podcast helps us out. So please like, comment, share, rate the podcast. We love it all. And from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. Thank you, and I'll see you on the other end. This is Sip Talk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Of course, it's good.
Cheers.
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 All right, that means we are live. I think I hear you cracking a can over there. Welcome, everyone, to Sip Talk. This is Sip Talk episode 154. My name is Justin DiGiulio out of my basement in New Jersey, joined by James, the Boswell, philosopher, accountant, referent, bartender. He's got all the different endings to the different words that are. I'm a bit out of sorts. I'm a little sick, sucking down cough drops over here. So you gotta try to drag me along. But today I got a couple of stories, some things that happened over the last couple of weeks I thought would be nice to share. So I'm gonna do my best to share them with you. What's going on down there in South Carolina?
I wouldn't know because I don't go outside.
Yeah, man. Let me ask you a question. You work from home?
Yeah.
So how many days a week do you actually leave the confines of your property line?
2 or 3. Like Sunday I played golf. Saturday I had to leave the apartment because I was selling the Miata. So I spent...
Oh, damn, you sold the Miata.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Very disappointed in you.
I had to.
Well, if you weren't using it, it is what it is.
Like, yeah, 2 weeks ago, the alternator blew up on me, and that was about $750. Like, I also had to do like an oil change and replace a tire, but it was like $750 I had to throw into it. And I don't drive more, like I might drive 20 miles a week right now. And I don't even need
having two vehicles doesn't.
2 cars. Actually, I have 3 cars. I don't need 3 cars. I need like half of one.
Yeah.
And I just was like, you know what? The reason why the alternator blew up was probably because the battery was always dead and I always had to jump it. So every time I was driving it, the alternator was basically working at full tilt. And
yeah, that makes sense.
By not driving it, my maintenance costs on it were actually higher. And I'm just like, it doesn't make any sense for me.
I got you. All right. Well, just
it.
For the record, somebody who says they could get by with half a car, that is basically a motorcycle.
A motorcycle would be cool. I would need to learn how to ride one. And I'm thinking possibly in a year down the line of getting something else that would be stupid. Like right now, one candidate would be like a 2009 Corvette.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Corvette fan, but that would be stupid. So I'm not against the idea. So look, I want to acknowledge Rosh had a post online today, and it said puppies are not Christmas presents; they're a 15-year commitment. I kind of like that. I think if you're giving somebody a dog for Christmas, like either you're dumb and like you're just like, oh, that'll make a nice present, or you're like really like, there's a real kind of symbolism and sign behind that gift.
I think the only time that a pet is an appropriate gift is if the person has been talking about how much they want to get a pet.
That's possible. I got a buddy that is going through some relationship issues, but really I think the difficulty might be getting her to stick around. And I think a puppy might be a really good gift for him to give this year.
No, that's terrible.
Well, you might know who I'm talking about, but
I
we're
have a
getting
feeling.
conversation for off air. But the puppy idea is literally what popped into my head when I saw
Yeah,
it.
but now it's the same logic there as it is of, well, we should have kids together. That'll increase our commitment to each
Well,
other.
and the puppy being kind of one step below. So here I got a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about some bad drivers today. I want to talk about a couple of racist things, types of topics that we try not to broach too deep into as a couple of white straight guys on a podcast, especially on air. But I don't think we're going to go too far over the line. Little transgender story and some power crazy people.
You finally decided to start hormone therapy. Good. Good
I
for you.
did, yeah. I'm hoping my hair will grow back if I start. It's possible. So, but a couple of thoughts that popped into my head. I just wanted to share them, expand on them a little bit, run them by you because I always like your perspective on these things. But I thought of a good example a few weeks ago when I was driving home, just some dumbass drivers on the road, and I thought this is a great example of where teaching to pass the test gets you, because when it comes to learning how to drive, driving schools don't typically do a great job in teaching you like really how to handle a car, right? They're not teaching you like how to handle the car. They're teaching you how to steer and orient the car and park. And they're teaching you the laws that the test is going to be based on. But I don't think they do a really good job to really reinforce kind of the essence of driving and some more of the more nuanced things when it comes to driving, like how important it is. You're supposed to turn off your high beams when somebody's approaching you, but that's not really something that's going to come up in the driver's test.
Some
So
of the
that,
newer cars today automatically do that.
oh yes, yeah, I'm very much
I
aware.
was driving a car that did that and it was freaking me out. I didn't like it.
How about the cars that have the indicators when somebody is in your blind spot on the mirror? Have you been in one of those?
Yeah, that's actually a nice feature.
I have in the A7. It allows you to dim that, so it's not as bright. But it really bothers me when it goes on and kind of blinks when somebody's in the blind spot because I find that distracting. So the
No,
A7
it
lets you.
shouldn't be. Yeah,
It shouldn't
but
be
like
distracting.
when I was in San Diego, we rented a Nissan and it had one of those. But it was really like the only time that it would show up is if you were signaling. Then it would be like a light on the mirror. I don't remember exactly where. I think it was on the mirror. So if you're
Yeah.
signaling, it would give you like a light on the bottom of the mirror or something.
Well, so here's what happens when somebody's in the blind spot. Mine illuminates, and then if you signal that you're going to turn, it goes spastic. And the first time it happened to me, I thought there was like an ambulance that just popped out of nowhere because it started lighting up. But
Yeah, I don't really remember because like
well, you're on
I was
vacation.
checking my blind spot, so like signaling while someone was in my blind spot didn't happen because I would be checking to make sure before
Yeah, no.
I signaled. But I don't know.
Well, but you follow me here when I'm saying that the driver's ed course is a great example of teaching people just to pass the exam, and that's why we have so many bad drivers because they don't learn all of the nuances of driving.
I actually think that like a proper driver's ed class where you're spending
Well,
like
hang on,
8 or
because
10 hours in the car at least,
I
those do a decent job.
I think we had an exceptional driver's ed teacher and driver's ed course, but I imagine that most of them, and especially the ones I see driving around the city, are nothing like that. And I think if you're taking a driver's ed course in Queens or the Bronx or Manhattan, it's nothing like, and could be nothing like the driver's ed course that we took, where
Yeah,
we drove in a downtown area, and then we drove throughout the mountains and the countryside.
yeah, I remember there was one day where like we did highway driving, another day where we did city driving, and the teacher was pretty dedicated to doing a good job. What's really interesting actually is that in a lot of countries, you're not able to get a license until you've taken like so many hours of a driving school.
Yeah, but my point is just that from what I understand, most driving ed courses and driver's ed, they don't teach you much more than just to pass the driving test. What are you drinking down there, by the way? Speaking of driving,
Oh, you know.
are you drinking was it Bush Ice?
Yep.
All right. I got this unfiltered vodka. I guess I put quite a dent in it the last episode. So all right. So look, so teaching to the test, I thought the driver's course is a great example of that. That's why you have so many shitty drivers. And I just don't think they drive home, for lack of a better phrase. I don't think they drive home some of the kind of more important things of driving, which is why you have so many bad drivers and the implications of bad driving. Because I see a lot of accidents now that I'm back on the road almost every day.
Well, and also some driving schools preach excess caution, and I'm not saying that you should drive recklessly, but if you drive too cautiously, that's also dangerous. Like, one thing that drives me completely nuts in Charleston is if you're coming up to an intersection and the light's green and there's not traffic like in the intersection that's like you have to slow down so you don't hit somebody. Like, people will be cruising along and then as they get to the intersection, brake through a green light.
Well,
It's like, why are you slowing down for this intersection?
That's something that should be driven home in the driver's course, just like the avoidance of tapping on your brake when you're on the highway. I was on the highway home today going up a hill, and a whole bunch of people were tapping the brake as they went up the hill because they, within their comfort level, they got too close to the car in front of them. And then, of course, they had to instantly push on the gas. Yep. So, if you're driving uphill, you got gravity working against you. You just take your foot, you gently lift your foot off the gas, and you'll slow down in time. All right, so one of the things I want to get into the racist things because I thought I'll share the first one with you. I was on the road a couple weeks ago, and I said, "Hey, wow, look at those ape hangers. That can't be comfortable." And the person I was with said, "That's so fucking racist."
I don't know what an ape hanger is.
Well, nor did the person that was with me. So an ape hanger is a style of motorcycle handlebars where your hands are up in the air like you're hanging from a branch, like a ape or a gorilla or some type of marsupial, and has nothing to do with race. But
no.
But the phrase ape hanger struck somebody as racist, and then I got called out on being racist. So it's just that added level of racism that's kind of in the zeitgeist these days is what I call what I'm going to call the cause of that happening. And obviously there's nothing racist about it, but I think we have, for a lot of good, but then for some bad, what the zeitgeist has going on these days. So, but for those of you who don't know, what ape hangers are, a style of handlebar where your hands are placed way above your head and you're almost hanging off of the motorcycle. And
I can understand if hearing that phrase with no context and not knowing anything about it, my first assumption would probably be that it's something racist.
Well, I didn't realize how unknown that the term was, but I've talked about it.
Heard it before today.
But the fact that your mind would first go to racism is what I thought was funny. So all right, so then I got this. I realized this in the parking lot that I park in the morning. This and I'll share with you what I thought afterwards. I'll share with you that first. I think that some people may keep their job even though it doesn't pay as much as they could be earning because the position gives them power that they wouldn't elsewise have. And that for some people, being in a respected role where you have power over others is to a degree of an importance more than a certain salary or income might be. And I know people in the real estate business who really like the power that they have. I don't necessarily know as whether they earn a super great amount, but they like having that power because of the number of people they interact with. Have you run into that at all?
Not in my in the accounting world, not really. In the mortgage world, even less so. But I've seen it.
I think in the corporate world where you have kind of that managerial different levels, you're more likely to see that.
Well,
and a manager oftentimes doesn't make that much more than their superiors.
At the company that I currently work for, from my experience, management's pretty good about not just like. I think I was talking with the Derv about this yesterday. That we were talking about how both of us have gotten like now 3 vaccines, and he's like, both you and I are very much anti-authoritarian, but at the same time, like, we're the ones who will follow all the rules for COVID. What's the deal with that?
Very
And what I
strange,
pointed
yeah.
out to him was that our anti-authoritarian bend has nothing to do with authority by itself and everything to do with a disdain for the arbitrary.
Yes, the disdain for the arbitrary, I have very much so. I think we have a slightly different perspective on the vaccine, but I think you hit the nail right on the head, is that the anti-authoritative personality aspect comes from disdain for just arbitrary bullshit. And a lot of times managers who have power over whomever they're managing create arbitrary rules for the sake of using their power, because what are the people below them going to do? So with that, I have a great example. So I park in this parking garage, parking lot. It's an open lot. It's near one of the train stations near Manhattan, and it just allows me to take a one stop into Manhattan. I don't have to drive into Midtown. I don't have to pay $82 a day for parking. It costs $30. So
this is still in Jersey.
It's just outside of Manhattan, but it's one stop in, so it makes sense. And I don't have to drive through the tunnel traffic in and out of the city. I just hop on the train.
You're paying $30 a day for parking?
Well, it beats $82 a day. So either way, hear me out. Hear me out.
Let me process that $30 a day for parking is reasonable.
Well, it's $52 less than the comparable options in the city. So
it doesn't.
Cost of living is quite a bit higher in the New York City area. So, for those of you who I see ask on TikTok here, I'm drinking unfiltered vodka in a dirty glass. James is drinking Busch Ice in a warm can.
No, it's a cold beer.
All right. So look, I pull into the parking lot.
Ice on the can.
I usually the word ice on the can. I usually see this guy in the parking lot, and he kind of directs me to this general area on the mid side of the parking lot. So it's like it's not right near the entrance. So I still have a little bit of walk, but I don't mind. The guy's nice to me. Usually see him there, and he'll usually tell me to park where there's another truck or two parked on a daily basis. But the parking lot is usually at this time of the morning, 9:30. It's about 80% vacant. Now, I've never really seen the parking lot greater than 60% capacity. So it's at 20% capacity right now. So I look around, I pull in slowly, look around for the guy. I don't see him. I kind of troll through. I don't see him. I see a pickup truck parked in the area where I normally park in. I drive next to that pickup truck, and I park one space away from him. Now, we are surrounded by 0 cars for at least 4 to 6 spaces in any direction. All of a sudden, the guy pops up out of nowhere, and he goes, hey, I'm going to need you to park right over there. I said, one space to the right? He said, yeah, I need you to park over there. So, because I'm a nice guy and I wasn't in a rush or anything this morning, I pulled out, backed into the space, one space over, and that was that. I jumped out, told him to have a nice day, and walked to the train. But on my walk, I'm glancing around the parking lot, realizing that it is still 80% vacant, and couldn't figure out why he needed me to move.
Did you ask?
No.
I would have.
I didn't want to have any confrontation. It wasn't a big deal. But it occurred to me that I don't think he had a real reason for me to move either, except that he liked exercising that power over somebody, especially somebody as cordial as I am in the morning, because I imagine probably there's a decent amount of dicks. And he just kind of likes having control. By the way, And for those of you who are wondering this, because this isn't the case in all parking lots, this is a self-parking section of the parking lot. I don't know if there's a valet section, but there are signs that say self-parking. So
What if you were to just park wherever? Are they going to tow you?
no, I don't. And you take the key with you, which is also very uncommon, at least in Manhattan, that you take the key with you, because if they need to relocate your car, they'd want to be able to move the car. So, Rosh is saying it sounds like I'm sucking on a cough drop because I got a little under the weather. Over the weekend, I don't want to be coughing into the microphone. Sorry about that. So yeah, that was my thinking on power. And then the last thing on the power thing is why are some people with power so super nice, so caring, so gentle with exercising their power, while others are so fucking rude and just want to wield every ounce of power that they have? What is that?
My theory is...
And by the way, this guy was neither of them. He was neither of them. He kind of fell in the middle, but you don't see that very often. And also, I didn't contest. I didn't contest what he said. So that may have pushed him to one side or the other of the spectrum.
My first thought was to answer with the word confidence, but I've now changed. I want to change my answer. The people that have power but exercise it responsibly and kindly,
And
versus the people that just kind of have like a tiny little bit of power. It's, are you fulfilled in other areas of your life? If you are, then you don't need to lord your power over others because you get nothing from it. But if wherever you have this power, if that's the only thing you have going on in your life, then that's the only thing you have to look forward to every single day.
And I think, and that's why I said I think some people may keep their job despite it not paying as well as other potential positions, because they find this having whatever level of power somewhat fulfilling. But I do think you're right. If you have control over your life in other places, and you have something fulfilling outside of the workplace, you're not going to be wielding your power, or as you phrased it, I quite liked, lording your power over others. But it's something I very commonly see. And unfortunately, I find myself having to deal with people that have some type of power that I just kind of have to roll with and just bend over and be nice. And I've seen people in the past, want to basically spit in their face and tell them to fuck off. But I know that is not the right way to deal with somebody like that. So
sometimes it is.
Yeah, it may be, but it depends on whether you can get what you need with or without that person.
That's
all right,
rare, but there are times where it's warranted.
All right, so I got basically I got three more things here. I want to talk about a nice Christmas holiday drink. I guess we're great on time, so it doesn't really matter. But I got a cool holiday drink idea I wanted to share with you. I think we are hosting Christmas Eve in the casa this year, so I was trying to come up with a good Christmas drink for kind of non-cocktail drinkers. So anything
can't be too boozy.
Can't be too boozy. It can't really have that mezcal smoke or they're not fans of gin.
I've got one for you.
A scotch or a mezcal, like I said, probably wouldn't work. But I have an idea. But I'm curious, what's your idea?
Fish House Punch.
Being called punch, I think is probably going to knock it off the list. But what do you have?
It's a punch.
What is a Fish House Punch?
Oh, there's a lot in it. I don't remember the recipe off the top of my head, but it's actually fairly strong, but it doesn't taste strong.
We got eggnog coming through on TikTok.
Yeah, that's predictable.
Eggnog's great. I may actually, it's not a bad idea. Maybe I would make some actual eggnog this year. But so what's a Fish House Punch as you Google search it?
All right, so this makes about 10 cups. 1 cup sugar, 3.5 cups water, 1.5 cups lemon juice, 1 bottle of Jamaican amber rum, 12 ounces cognac, 2 ounces peach brandy.
All right, so let's just pare this down. Sugar, water, what was it?
Lemon juice,
rum,
cognac,
cognac, and then was it peach schnapps or something?
peach brandy. Peach schnapps would probably also work.
It's the peach flavoring. Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. I'm not a big fan of the peach flavored drinks.
Dude, it's 2 ounces in 10 cups.
Fair enough, but I'm gonna be making a lot of it, so we'll see. I have I'll share my 2 stories, and then people can hate the shit out of me.
Actually, better one. Make some kind of like peppermint patty drinks. So Godiva Black, Godiva White.
Way too sweet. Yeah, go
Godiva
ahead.
Black, Godiva White.
Yep.
Creme de menthe and vodka.
It sounds like a wonderful drink to me. I don't think that would. I think that's gonna. People will be vomiting, but I mean,
and the vodka is not to make it stronger. The vodka is just to cut it.
Yeah, because it's almost like it would be like an eggnog.
Yeah, it would be. It would be really, really thick and sweet. So the vodka is to dilute the drink without watering it down.
So here's my drink this year, and we could talk about some other holiday drinks. Raj seems to like that idea, but I don't know if you've heard, and this is a theory.
I'm hoping that MJ likes my drink recommendation.
I think so, because I haven't named one, so it was one or the other. But look, so Macy's has created. You may not have heard of this, but there's a new reindeer. Right. So I don't know, Rudolph was a relatively new reindeer. He's kind of the newest of the pack. I guess there was 8 reindeer and he's number 9. So Macy's this year created a new reindeer.
Studolph.
The reindeer is called Tiptoe. And of course, Tiptoe outside of regular reindeer fashion, Tiptoe is a blue reindeer. So of course you can figure out what gender he would be. Yeah.
I would assume male, but
actually, that's through my language. My bad. So Tiptoe, the blue reindeer, is actually a female reindeer. So my theory, and they said nothing along these lines, but I have a theory, and well played by Macy's part, that Tiptoe is going to be a transgender reindeer. What are your thoughts on that? Or the kind of gender ambiguity they're giving with having a blue reindeer who's a female?
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think that's
no, because the reindeer are not humans. That like animals don't have a concept of gender identity. So,
well, they may not identify with their gender as the way humans do, but
right. No, they like animals. This is a psychological condition, which is legitimate for the people that have it. But notice how I said people who have it.
Fair enough. So, but look, my thinking is, and I could be wrong on this, and I'm not saying good for them or bad for them, but my thinking is just this will play out at some point that Tiptoe is somewhat transgender, or they're just kind of keeping it kind of mixed up for the sake of what's going on in the Zeitgeist.
Why do they need another reindeer?
I don't know. Good marketing, strategy. They have this talk about this new reindeer. The new reindeer was in the parade. Again, I'm not falling saying this is a pro or a con. The gender identity of the reindeer. I'm just saying I think it will play out that it is a maybe gender fluid or transgender reindeer. But she's a blue
my
reindeer.
Research department is on it.
All right. Well, I'm hoping to get some of your attention because I want to share with you this drink idea.
Okay.
The drink idea is called Tiptoe, and it is a rum, blue curacao, and Sprite. I think that's a very easy drink to drink, and it will come out. You just Googled Tiptoe the reindeer?
Yeah, that was what the research department was working on.
And you saw that Tiptoe is a very light blue colored reindeer?
Yep.
What would be the color for that? Just a light blue? It's kind of a sky blue reindeer?
Almost like a periwinkle, but I
Yeah,
feel like periwinkle has a little purple to it.
Yeah, but that would be roughly the color that drink would make. A light rum, and blue curacao and Sprite. I think would make a drink very similar to that color. And if it needed to be a little darker, you just add a little more blue curacao, and then you have the tiptoe drink. And you could drop some little cranberries on top for the little red in the drink. Like you got the red nose on the reindeer. I'm pretty sure you got the image there. Tiptoe's got a red nose, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of I'm trying to craft some blue curacao drinks in my head right now.
Well, either way, that's my.
And if you wanted to do a Christmas drink, there's a pine liqueur.
A pine liqueur I do not think would go over very well. I'm trying to think of a drink that would please that would please somebody who might be drinking this drink.
Yeah, it's not something that I would expect to appeal to the masses.
But I think the rum and curacao with a Sprite would be a very easy, nice spritzy, easy to take down drink. Let's see why I've been sucking at his cough drop. All right, so now we got the trans deer here. I want to get back into a bit of a zeitgeist. What's the word I'm looking for? A zeitgeist caused issue that happened the other week. So
I don't know what zeitgeist means.
It means like the research department should Google it and come up with the actual definition. But I'm pretty sure it means kind of like what's the general conversation.
I'm getting them on it right now.
All right, the kind of general topics that are going on within culture.
The defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history as shown by the ideas and beliefs of the time.
Okay, so when we talk about the trans reindeer, I think that would be appropriate. And I'm not, again, I mention it and then people attack me and say, "Oh, you're saying this or that." I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying my thinking is that ultimately that's where Macy's is going with this. And then on the zeitgeist, another racial issue. I said ape hangers talking about motorcycle handlebars. There's nothing racist about it. It refers to there's no racial aspect of the comment. So, my girlfriend has a Hispanic last name, and
I would assume she did.
Okay, so we both. Well, a couple weeks ago. Let me back up. I'm tiling the basement. So I went out and I bought these tiles, went to buy a nice tile saw because I don't currently have a tile saw. So went out to buy this tile saw and realized they were minimum $500. So, or I could get one that won't do a great job cutting. It's not an electronic saw. It kind of scores. It scores the piece of tile and you got to crack the tile. But if you don't score it correctly, you crack down on the tile. It's not going to, you're not going to get a straight line. It may crack into the tile and then you just got to scrap that piece. So for the amount I was spending on the tile, I didn't want to spend another 50% having to replace all the tile that I bought. Plus they're heavy as fuck to transport. I wanted to get a decent tile saw. So the starting price was about $500, $600. So what do? I go to Facebook Marketplace, which for people who aren't familiar with, it's basically the new Craigslist with an added level of security because they're linked to actual people's profiles. So you can check out the seller. And we were in the car. I said to her, sent him a message. She said, "Well, this one's $275." I said, "Okay, look it up. See what value it is." It was like a $750 or $800 saw. And it looked like it was in good shape. So I said, message them, see if they'll take $200. So her message was, "Would you take 200?" And 5 minutes goes by, nothing. 10 minutes goes by, no response. We were messaging other people. So then I got on. I was like, damn, that's a really good deal for a tile saw. That's a nice saw. It's an MK. MK makes good tile saws. So I messaged them and I said, "I'm in your area today. Can I come pick this up?" Not 2 minutes go by, and I get a response that says, "I have to make sure my husband will be home. Send me your number." And then they called. Now, we were joking in the car that they were racist. And when I got them on the phone, the husband called me and I said, "Hey, man, I'm in the area. I'm doing a tile job. I could really use a saw. Would you take 200?" And he said, "You know what? When can you be here?" And then I went over and I Venmoed him $200. We had a deal. So my question for you was, were the sellers racist?
Not enough information.
Exactly what I say.
The answer could be yes, it could be no.
And
Because the thing is, your control group is not set properly. Because your girlfriend's message to the seller was different than your message to the seller. So the fact that the seller responded to you but not her could be because you opened differently.
well, that's what I said. And um, we've been referring to them as the racist tile saw people, jokingly, knowing that probably, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully they're not. But we were joking around about it because we had it inconclusive data, in the sense that we did not have enough information. And what I felt like was, with the Zeitgeist, the majority of people would just err to the fact that, well, they answered me and not her, so therefore they must be racist.
If both opening messages were the same, then you would have a stronger case.
Well, you know what you'll see right through this, but the response to what you're telling me, and I'm agreeing with you because that was my theory as well, was that that's what you would say as a white man.
But I am a white man.
But that's what you would say. So they are racist.
Not only that's what I would say, that's what I did say.
That's your perspective.
Only been a white man.
I think racism is a terrible thing, but I think in the Zeitgeist, that the fact that we're using it more often and in places maybe where we shouldn't be is not doing the cause any favors. And there was no race involved. There's no knowing of racism. And just like the ape hanger incident, that had nothing to do with race. And the way the current Zeitgeist is going is a very prevalent thing. And that's unfortunately sad, because it affects things that maybe it shouldn't affect. And that does a disservice to the cause. All right. And then I got one more funny story for you. This one, I want to bring some levity here. I hope I deliver the story right, because the way that it was delivered to me, I laughed my ass off.
Who does this involve?
A friend of mine. I laughed my ass off for about 20 minutes after upon hearing the end of the story, and then every time I think of this story, I laugh my ass off. And this is all bad stuff, and I'm trying my best to make light of it, because it's all in the eye of the beholder, and you have to make light of as much as you can these days, unless it is serious, and then maybe not. Like we were talking about the kid that
tell the story,
that shot in the school last week, and his crazy parents. Obviously, you can't make light of that, and that's serious issue. So, a friend of mine went on a date a few weeks ago. The date went pretty well, but they were at a bar, and they both had a decent amount to drink. They weren't like sloppy drunk, but they were a little buzzed, and they decided to part ways. Nobody was getting any action that night. At least that's what they thought. And she said that she lived nearby. So when they left, he tailed her in the car to make sure she got home safe, make sure she didn't get pulled over.
Did she know that he was doing this?
Well, she must have known. They both got in their cars, and he was right behind her. But a few blocks.
Did he tell her that's what he was doing?
Hold on, hear me out. A few blocks away, she pulled over, and she waved him, rolled down her window, stuck her arm out, and waved him up to the car. And then he's standing next to the window. She got the window down. She curls her finger forward and kind of says, "Come here." So he leans forward. He's expecting a good night kiss or something. So he leans through the window, and she grabs him by the throat. She got him in a chokehold lock, and she said, Don't ever follow someone home, you fucking creep. And then pushed him away, rolled up her window, and sped out of there. Now hold up, because you were right off the bat. You were right off the bat, and this was a major faux pas on his part. And you got to hear the story from the perspective of my friend saying, "This is what happened. This is do you believe this?" And I'm like, dude.
Yeah, I completely believe it. You're an idiot.
I'm like, dude, and I hate explaining the fuck out of this, but what makes it funny is you have to be in his mind. You have to be in his mind in the moment where you think you're doing something nice, which you should never do. If you're listening to this, that's a terrible idea. And you called me out in the middle of telling the story. Did she know? Did he say, "Hey, I'll tell you home"? No. And that's where she is vindicated with her action, even though it's a bit crazy, a bit loco.
It's a bit of an overreaction, but it's justifiable.
Yes, but yeah, I felt really bad for this guy because he goes, "Yeah, the date went really well," and
no, it didn't.
Well, not in the end, but I'm sure up until like 2 blocks into the journey, she may have been thinking the same thing, and then they go like around another corner, and he turns with her. So
right, because
so
how does
stops.
she know that he's following her home to make sure that she gets home safely, or he's following her home so he can go up to her apartment with her and forcibly do things?
Yeah, no, 100% true, 100% true, and there's no way for her to know, and that is a creepy as fuck move.
Right. So the easiest solution here is what I've already suggested. When you're going your separate ways, you say, "Would you like me to follow you home to make sure you get home safe?"
So
it's not even hard to ask.
I'll give you one more story that happened to this guy, and it happened maybe a month before.
Is this someone I know?
No, it's not, and I'm not naming any names, and it wouldn't be fair for me to.
I'm not asking you to name names. I'm saying, is this someone I know? Because I could probably figure it out based on some other context.
No. It's nobody you know. I'll give you one more story, and hopefully nobody knows either of the stories, so they, so they can't figure out the identity of this person. But I'm trying to change a couple of details. So I'll make up some names here. So for the sake of the story also. So my friend Rob is on the train, and about a year ago, he ended this relationship, and he was really bummed out about it for a while. And I guess she ended it, so he was really depressed for a while. And over the last 4 or 5 months, he's gotten his life back together. Obviously, he's dating. Not the greatest at dating because he followed the chick home from the bar in his car, but Rob's a good guy, and he's come to terms with the breakup. And as far as he knew, they hadn't had any contact really, so things weren't on bad terms. It just ended, and it was a year ago, and it's over with. So
Rob, is he still following her home?
Well, so Rob sees his ex on the subway platform, and it's a big platform. A bunch of trains go through, and he says, "Hey, Joanna." And Joanna doesn't turn. So the train that's in the station clears out, and the woman's still standing there. Joanna's still standing there, and the train clears out. It's a little quieter, and he yells, "Joanna!" And she does, and he's kind of excited to see her. He hasn't seen her in a year. He's now feeling like a new man, right? Like when you're depressed and you don't want to run into an ex, you feel bad, but he's feeling like a new man. He wants to say hi. It's the right thing to do. It's almost, he's single. He doesn't know her status, but it almost seems like fate, right? They're on the same subway platform in New York City, where there's thousands of subway platforms, thousands of people in that, millions of people sees her on the not even in the train or in a passing car, sees her on the subway. Now, this is an outdoor platform, so it's open air. He yells second time, "Joanna!" Doesn't hear him, whatever. So he takes out his phone, and he snaps a picture of her, and he doesn't have her number saved anymore, but he remembers it. So he texts his phone number, sends the message of a picture with her, and he's like, he said something kind of funny, kind of witty, about like sorry to be bothering you, or you're ignoring me or something, and she doesn't she doesn't even look down at her phone. He's looking right at her. She doesn't even look down at her phone. So another like 3 minutes goes by, because trains don't come one after the other. You can be sitting there for sometimes 12 minutes. So 3 minutes in this situation feels like an hour. And finally, he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna walk over and say hi. So she's still standing there, hasn't really moved. She's not looking at her phone. She's just kind of standing there, aloof to whatever's going on. He walks over, and she's facing kind of 3/4 to the other direction. He puts his hand on her shoulder and says, "Joanna," and she turns to him and says, "The fuck is wrong with you? You fucking creep. Don't you ever lay your hands on a woman. What the fuck is wrong with you? Get away from me. Get away from me." And as she gets really upset in his face, he realizes this isn't Joanna at all.
Yeah, I saw that coming. This guy is really, really bad at understanding situations.
Well, again, if you put yourself in this guy's shoes, which I did as he's telling me this story, Rob, of course, oh man, that was soul crushing. And not expecting a complete stranger who was milliseconds ago your ex of three years, Joanna, who you spent 3 years with.
There are so many things that he could have read into the situation to deduce that this was not his ex-girlfriend.
Well, the fact that he just screamed her name, maybe she was ignoring him.
No, because it's impossible to ignore somebody. Like, when you hear your name, you will automatically kind of like turn, and then like if it's somebody that you want to ignore, you can do it afterwards. But like that first blush reaction is, unless you are going through life purposely training your mind to never respond to your own name, then when you hear your name, you're immediately going to turn. So that's item one.
But maybe
item two, she has her phone
maybe,
out. He texts her, and there's and
back up, pause, and then I'll let you finish with number two. But maybe she saw him before he saw her, and then she tried to ignore him, and then when she heard her name,
that doesn't help his case.
Agreed. But how would you give up on this moment to share, to your glory, how great you're doing in life with your ex, who when you left, you were emotionally defeated and destroyed?
You move on with life. Now, Rosh brings up another good point, saying now he has another layer of aggravation when his ex will receive that picture and tell him she never looked like that girl. Rosh is right. This guy managed to screw up not just in the moment.
You know what? There is an aspect of that story that something about totally forgot that it was less theatrical in my mind, whatever happened with the text message. But yeah, at some point his ex is gonna, providing he got the phone number right.
But dude, breakups aren't fun, especially when you're the party that didn't want to break up. But it's been a year, man, and this chick was either not hearing you, or there's no way that she wasn't hearing you because you shouted her name multiple times. If she doesn't respond to Joanna, then it's not her. And then if you're going to go up and approach somebody, never do it from behind. Circle around in front so they can see you coming. That will also buy you more time to realize it's not her. But then you can go up and so they can see you coming, and then you can, and let's just assume that it was her. Now she can see you, and you can be like, "Hey, I thought I saw you from across the platform. It's cool running into you. How are you doing?" He just did everything wrong.
I felt really
every
really
single step. What we need to do is like need like a dog collar, one of those shock collars for him, and then like start talking him through a situation. Be like, "All right, you're out on a date. this happens, and like have one finger on the trigger at all times. You say, now she says this, and he gives a bad answer, you shock him. Because it's clear that this guy cannot figure this shit out.
There's actually a Black Mirror episode about a man who does virtual live date coaching, and he, you kind of wear like glasses with a live feed and an earpiece, and he feeds you through the date.
So if I'm out on a date with somebody and they have an earpiece in during the entire date,
well, the episode takes place in the future where you don't need an actual earpiece. It's implanted in your brain, or you don't even need glasses. It's implanted in your retina, or it's some type of contact lens.
I'm talking present day technology. If someone has one earpiece in the entire date, I'm going to like wonder if I'm dating someone who's in like the FBI.
I'll tell you, the Black Mirror is. I'm assuming you have not seen it.
I've seen like one episode of it, maybe.
I hope it wasn't the first season. This first episode of the first season was arguably the worst episode of the whole
I don't know.
series, but...
There was one episode that had a whole bunch of spiders, and I made it like 3 minutes in, and it was like, nope.
Oh yeah, good episode. Terrible to watch with the spiders. I think I know which one you're talking about. So look, last thing I wanted to share, because again, this is just kind of this amalgamation of thoughts and things that have passed in my brain over the last couple of weeks, because we had some holiday time, and I was off for my holiday party, so we've been a little inconsistent with the last couple episodes. But on the friend that had the uncomfortable situation with the ex, and the
it wasn't with the ex.
Well, it was uncomfortable for him, and
it was uncomfortable for her too, because she's accosted by some stranger.
And the poor choices that led him to being caught in a chokehold.
Yeah, I'm kind of understanding why his ex is his ex.
Well,
I'm questioning how she ever became his girlfriend in the first place. This guy doesn't read signals.
There was no signals to read. You just should. There's no signals to say follow me or don't follow me.
Right. Okay. So this guy doesn't have any common sense.
But yeah, he's not a dumb guy. You're
not making a strong case for him now.
A couple of poor choices there. I feel bad for him. But on that note, if you think a girl is going to break up with you, now would be the time to buy her a puppy. That was my take home from this episode.
I guess if we're trying to think of bad advice, if you think a girlfriend's going to break up with you, let me see if I can top that for bad advice. Besides, have a kid with her.
All right.
No, that's a terrible idea. Don't buy someone a puppy.
Different. So this is on the real, and this is not joke, and I'm sure you'll agree with me here. But I heard this today, and that's that a positive person can't bring everybody around them up. Now, if you want to come up, that positive person can have an effect on you and help pull you upwards. But if you don't want to come up, the positive person is not going to have any effect on you. Now, a negative person, whether you want to or not, a negative person will pull you down.
I would agree. And
the more time you spend around a negative person, the more negativity they're going to impact you with. That was my 2 cents on that. And I thought that was some really good advice, and really that being, you need to avoid negative people.
Yeah, sure. I would agree with that.
And if you want to be brought up and brought up by somebody who's positive, you have to do your part to want it and to pull yourself up. But avoid negative people.
Also, avoid people that follow you home.
I'm not surprised that I am surprised that she didn't call him from the car and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" That would have been, that I felt would have been maybe the better choice on her part than that, given she was a little drunk, but and it totally felt to me like she just lured him in with the rolling the window down, the come here, the curling her finger forward.
I think her response was perfect.
Well, also if he, she was luring herself, he was luring him to put herself in the danger zone at that. So that, maybe not. It was perfect for
She's
the
in the
sake of it.
driver's seat at any point. She can drive away.
It was perfect for the
She,
theatrical release of this story. It was perfect for that aspect of the story.
no,
But
but it made an impression too because he wouldn't have learned his lesson if she just called him. He needed that.
yeah, maybe to a
Because when
degree.
you said when she beckoned him in, I wasn't expecting the throat grab, but I was expecting a slap.
But yeah, you saw it. And as he was telling me the story, I was like, God, this is going to have a negative twist at the end. And you shouldn't have followed her home. But then he's telling me the story, rolled the window down. She curled her fingers, said, "Come here." He leaned over. He put his head through the window. And I'm like, and he's like, the chick grabbed my fucking throat. She got me in a chokehold. He said, "Don't ever follow a woman home."
Rosh is asking, is it okay for a woman to be physically violent with a man she went on a date with?
Oh,
I would say generally no, but in this particular case, I still think it's justified.
for the humor value in this situation.
And I can tell you right now, I can't think of any jury in the world that would convict her of battery if she slapped him
or choked him.
or choked him, which she did.
But that's also when it comes to where Zeitgeist is at. It's suing people for the the most. Well, you could agree to have a fight with somebody in a parking lot, and then you lose the fight, and then you sue the person who hurt you more.
Depends on what state you're in. Washington, no. In Washington, there you can have like mutually accepted combat, and then it's under the assumption of risk defense in civil suits.
Interesting.
So what would happen, like, here's where you would be able to probably sue and win is, say you and I get into a fight in a parking lot where, like, I want to fight you, and you say, okay, I'll fight you, and let's say you win and, like, I'm knocked down. If after I'm knocked down you kick the crap out of me, like, that's no longer there's going to have to be some level at which, like, you say, okay, that was excessive.
I wonder if there's any precedents for that, and where that line would be drawn. Um,
I don't know, but it would end up being the kind of reasonable expectation, which is it's the same thing that applies in sports, where if you're in every once in a while you'll see somebody get convicted of, like, assault in a sports game, because if you get injured, like football, you get tackled, and when you get tackled you break your arm by the way that you fell, you're not going to be able to win any lawsuits. But if after the play they take a swing at you or something like that, then you're going to probably have a decent chance to win. Because is it reasonably expected that you might get injured after a tackle, which is part of the game? Yes. Is it reasonably expected that someone's going to take a swing at you after a play? No.
Yeah.
And same thing with, like, hockey, where, like, if you board somebody, that's expected. And if the person gets hurt from that, well, tough luck, that's expected. But if someone swings the stick at you and you get injured, well, you might, and even in the NHL, like, there have been times where criminal charges have been filed against players for swinging the stick violently at another player, because that's not a reasonable expectation from the game.
Yeah, a lot of testosterone in the NHL, especially all the professional sports.
But that's, so if you're in a state like Washington that allows kind of mutually agreed combat or whatever, then it's going to be, were the injuries something that could have been reasonably expected based on what both parties agreed to?
Speaking of the Zeitgeist, we're almost out of time here, but I think we will be having a conversation soon. Maybe us on air, but I think the kind of the Zeitgeist in general over the next 3 to 4 years about women competing in men's sports and the crossover to where that's going, especially as we have more transgender athletes competing in sports. So I'm really,
well, if you have just non-trans women competing in men's sports, that what's wrong with that? Like,
I agree.
I've refereed co-ed soccer where teams have to have the way it works is you can have a max if it's 11-a-side soccer, then you can have a maximum of 6 guys on the field and then as many women as you want. And so I've refereed that, and it's just like soccer, and like the women get treated just like the men do.
We have seconds left here, but point being that as we have a greater number of transgender people entering sports, typically the men's leagues are more competitive than, not more competitive, but I don't know, the better.
Let's save all this for another topic.
Yeah, well, it isn't, but I don't think, we got a couple years before it's a really super relevant topic, but I think it will be. Just a forethought. On that note, thank you guys for joining us, and wishing you all a good evening, and we'll see you guys soon.
Laters.
Adios. Thank you, Rashed. All right, this is The Other End. Thank you for joining. As always, you've reached the end of the podcast, so if you made it this far, I'm going to ask for your support, whether it means you subscribe or you share the podcast, whether you like or comment. Anything you do helps us out, and in the spirit of the holidays, I love getting gifts, so thank you very much. Love you guys. See you next time.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.